Today. Everyone, we are live.
Hi.
Welcome back to this amazing session where we're doing a series for all of you about big brand small business. We've been doing the series, TC, I think it's about 3 months now. I don't know the specific data to that because I haven't done it myself, the research, but I will say that we've been doing this for a while and it has helped me grow a lot. It's helped a lot of it helped a lot of people that just watch us, but also it helps my clients and it helps you guys. So what I want to do is do introductions and then we'll go into today's topic, which is going to be Google, right? Google is like everybody knows Google. I was just talking about how powerful Google is. It is the world's largest search engine, and there has to be a reason why, right? Because we do have other search engines, like there's Bing, there's Yahoo, but what makes Google so crazy amazing that no matter what Bing and Yahoo do, we always go to Google, right? Like, what makes that big brand so amazing that we're just like, Google it? Is it the fact that we do know that there were some brand components to it, which for me, I remember the first time I heard it, it was like, Google me, honey. I loved that. But I want to talk about this today. I'm Allegra Jackson, the marketing medulla. I'm a business coach, marketing strategist, business analyst, and entrepreneur of many years. I love what I do. So I support women entrepreneurs in making sure that honestly, that they turn their business dreams into reality. There's a lot of things that have components in business, and we teach you everything from the startup phase all the way to the actual sustainability, which is your scale up phase. I have Miss TC here, who's one of my partners in business. She is amazing at what she does. I'm going to let her introduce herself, and then we'll get started in this amazing topic today. Go ahead, TC.
Hey y'all. Okay, so it is always very good to be here. First, because we're going to be dissecting an amazing brand today. Now keep an open mind, okay? Because we're literally going to be talking about the journey of Google, its amazingness, why it is still valuable, reliable, and why a lot of businesses, including myself and you, depend highly on Google for information, for sales, for awareness, for every single thing. The truth is, what exactly is Google really all about? We're going to find out all of that. And as always, my name is TC Okore. I'm a business growth consultant. I'm also a fractional CMO, which is to say that I literally get you doing the work. Okay. I ensure that you get to implement all of the strategies so that you get those actual results that you require in your business. Now, today is going to be amazing. So I need you to bring out your notepad, okay, get your pen, and let us take notes because it's definitely going to be necessary for your next level of success. Over to you, Allegra.
Definitely. So I love the fact that we're starting here with Google. On this particular day, I was just talking about, how we are elevating in different areas of our businesses, myself and TC. And because Google is one of the main areas that I would start any startup business on. If you are like, I don't have a website, I don't have, testimonials, I don't have any type of content that is out there yet. Google has something called Google My Business. And that was one of the biggest components that I used when I started a lot of entrepreneurs up in the pandemic. Like they didn't have any money. So they were like, well, what do I use? And one of the biggest things I love, TC, is that as I'm looking at the history of Google and what they were, how they started, what they are representing, I think that it speaks volumes as to, where they are today. So let's go ahead and start this history lesson. And then we're going to get into, where Google currently is and how we utilize them for ourselves, our personal lives, and our business. So the history of Google, number one, right? We talk about the fact that it's innovating search and beyond. That was what the title was really saying when I looked it up. And Google's journey began in 1998, right? So Larry Page and Sergey Brin, PhD students at Stanford University, set out to create a better way to search the internet. PC, I don't know about you, but these students is rocking and rolling. Like they're going straight from college to entrepreneur, right? They're like not wasting time and they're making their own jobs. And I love that the fact that they actually they sought out a way to create a better way to search the internet. So they saw that they liked searching the internet, but they're like, wait a minute, there's got to be more to this. And it says that their goal was to organize the vast amount of information online and make it universally accessible and useful. The vision led to founding Google Inc. So Google, which revolutionized the way people find information with its simple, fast, and effective search engine. I don't know what the world looked like before Google, but I know what it looks like now. And if I could imagine what it looked like to look for information without actually putting it in one database, the fact that we're really lazy at heart because we don't want to actually research and do a lot of digging. Google is at this beginning stage with these college students. They're literally realizing that in the future, this is going to be a problem. People are lazy. We don't actually want to do all of that work. So how do we make it easy for them? And I love that they, in 2004, they went public. So from 1998, they were building a business, really working the kinks out. And then in 2004, they went public. So these tech companies, and I remember Apple's story, I believe that, they were kind of like in that era too, right? These companies were in the beginning of the tech startup phases. They no one knew what the heck was going on. They were just like, okay, we just look for stuff. But they realized that there was an issue that was for them, but maybe everyone didn't realize it was an issue yet, right? And I think for me, TC, that speaks so many volumes because a lot of times we see issues in our markets, we see problems with our clients, we see problems in the world. And because other people don't necessarily see the big picture like we do, we tend to kind of shy back from actually doing the thing that we know to do, right? And I call it a silent knowing, because if you see that there's something that you're frustrated with, it's something that you're having issue with, solving that problem for yourself first is really kind of like market research. Like actually looking up, like, how do I solve this problem because I can't find the information I want? And the hard part about that is that when you're doing that, it takes your time to figure it out. So, starting a business really does require that same energy. The difference is that when people are doing it for themselves, they just figure it's self-care. It's figuring out what they like, identifying self. But when we start a business doing it, we don't look at it that way. And so I want us to reframe that mindset, because most businesses that are very successful, like Google, started with 2 college students at Stanford University that just wanted to create a better way to search the internet. That was it. They were solving a problem that they had. So, and they could have also, identified it in other people. But I will say this, because TC, I don't know, your camera went off, but I don't know if you're still on here, sis. But when I think about having this journey go from, in 1998, when you're in school and you're like, I can't do my research paper because I can't find the information in time. That's gotta be frustrating. So before I go to the actual public side of Google and how they, ventured and started to solidify as a major player in the tech industry, I want to see if you're available, TC, because your camera went out, but I probably can still hear your voice. Are you there? Okay. Looks like her camera and her voice went out. So we'll wait for her to come back. But TC might go off on this part because it's so encouraging to know that a lot of the things that we feel like we're alone in the beginning of our businesses, every single business owner experienced it too. When these 2 students, Larry Page and Sergey Brin, and I haven't looked up where they are today or anything like that, but the fact that it was so simple, that they were able to create a space for themselves in the tech industry that no one ever had. And then the IPO that they that they had in 2004, it marked a turning point for them, just the same way we talked about Apple. Basically, they enabled the company to grow beyond search and invest in new areas like email, Gmail. So here we go. Okay, so here we go. This is where I get really excited about business and marketing, because you're coming from this small idea of, I just want to do search. I just want to basically search and beyond. So that's a limited scope of what they were doing. But then once they went public and once they started to really tell people this is what this does for you, this is how this supports you, which I don't know what the limited scope was at the time, but Google expanded in an IPO, and then they started to invest in new areas. And I love that, because a lot of times we're afraid to invest in other things because we're so used to what we're doing in business. Like we're so used to the same things, and it's our comfort zone really. But the truth is that every business has a growth spurt, a growth stage. And so at some point in time, from 1998 to 2004, they had to make a decision on how do we grow this and how do we expand it. And it didn't come from doing it by themselves. And so growth requires a team.
Can you hear me? We can't hear you. You can hear me, right? We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, so yeah, it's good.
I'm telling y'all, like my phones are acting really funny, and I think the internet is funky over here. So thank you for continuing to watch, y'all. I was just, really going in because the truth is that TC, I don't know if you heard what I was saying, but I was describing, this whole process where they went for the IPO for expansion, in 2004. So from 98 to 2004, these students had to figure out like what they were actually doing. And I honored that space and that time because TC, the truth is that, and I've worked with a lot of, even for myself, but I've worked with a lot of other individuals who are like very impatient about the growth. And sometimes it's really a lack of focus, right? Because a lot of times we're so excited about what we're doing that we forget that we have to actually plan it out in order for it to be successful. So for, 5 or 6 years, these gentlemen decided to plan out what Google would look like by testing it out for themselves, probably testing out on the people. But I love the fact that when they expanded, they did the IPO, and that actually required them to get support. And I was talking, and before it cut me off, I was talking about what kind of support you are required to get. If you're not going to do it in the beginning of your business to set yourself up for success, some point along the way, it's going to have to happen. Because at this point of his growth, he now is looking at investing in other avenues and the things that we are currently using to make sure that we can thrive in our lives and in our business. And I'll go over those things in a moment. But TC, I wanted to kind of slide over you real quick so I can get myself together.
Yeah, I love it. And I was listening to you. If you can hear the background, you see the boys are literally like banging the door. So I wanted to make sure that I lock everyone. So, y'all, like literally, you need to put like the proof, because if not, they just come here and be like, So I wasn't ready for that, so I had to lock up everywhere. Anyways, I wanted to, go back a bit. Remember, you were talking about the fact that they founded their business in 2008, right? But they didn't necessarily go public till
They founded it in 1998.
Yeah, 1998, and then they went public 2008, right? Good. Now, I'm trying to get us to see the time. Now, going back to the businesses that we have right now, small businesses that we have, experts, professionals, entrepreneurs these days, all we want to do is, am I able to make money now and now? Like, am I good? The only KPI, right, that we see is the liquid money. I mean, what is growth when there is no process? How do you define what growth is? Some people feel that growth is money, but you forget that it is the process that actually brings it. Because you see, the truth is, it's a matter of you identifying what exactly would keep your business sustainable. Now, you see, with Google, if they hadn't spent that long time, we just never know if they would have been as sustainable as they are currently. Now, so they needed to stay, follow through with the process, have a plan, ensure that they were intentional with every single thing they were pushing forward. Listen, they were learning, okay? They were getting collaborations, all of it. It's fine, but they had to work with time. Y'all, listen, when we keep reaching out to experts and expecting them to do magic, and these experts out there promising you heaven and earth in less than 6 days, you think about it. Like, we are not going to blame those gurus who come out to say, I can make you this in less than 12 days. You are to blame because you are the one making them say what they're saying. Because if somebody comes to tell you the truth and tell you, okay, for example, I've had somebody tell me that, oh, because I said, okay, we're supposed to do a launch. I'm going to give you this example and I'm not going to call names, right? But he reached out to me and he's like, oh, he wants to launch his podcast. And I said, okay, what do you want the podcast for? And he's like, oh, he wants to use his podcast so that he can start to get speaking engagements. And I'm like, okay, that's a good plan. But you know that you have to follow process, right? You know that you have to first show up as a thought leader, because people need to recognize that they can listen to you. People need to know that whatever comes out from this person's mouth is the real deal. Trust, that credibility. Before people are not going to hire you and get you on their stages when they do not trust that you even have that value to put on the table in the first place. So you want to get yourself positioned so people. And he's like, oh yeah, I want that. Oh, good. And he's like, how long is that going to take? I'm like, hey, let's not rush it. Let us build the foundation. Now you're starting off from scratch because you have nothing, like literally nothing. So let us give it at least, let's get the foundation right for 90 days. And then we can move forward, because you see, sometimes it could take you a year. All right. Sometimes it could take you a year, depending on the network that you have, depending on the connection that you have. Because listen, in this space where we find ourselves, your network is key, your connection is key. That would move you faster. Even if you're super amazing, you do not want to associate with people who do not even understand themselves. I mean, why do I want to connect with you when you do not even understand yourself? And how am I supposed to understand you? Right now, I'm not saying this to you like you. I'm trying to speak in the language that your audience, the people you want to connect to, right, might necessarily be thinking. My point is that you give it time. If big brands like Google understand the benefits with time, understand the benefits with staying focused in the process, with the process, they understand the benefits of support, understand the benefits of the fact that they can't do it alone. I don't know who you think you are, but listen, you just need to sit yourself down and tell yourself the truth. Because all of these big brands we see this today, they all started somewhere. Okay, they all had to put in the work to get to where they are right now. They all had to make that sacrifice of at least time. Now you need to do that, or even more. Right now, all of these things, Allegra be like breaking down all of it. It's not because we want to tell you Google's secret, or we want to tell you how amazing Google is, so for you to use Google. I mean, whether you use Google, you don't use it, Google is amazing, period. Google will get your business. Google would literally spread out your business. Google will set you up for success, even if you have zero budget, because most of the things they do are free. Like, let's not talk about the workspace anyways, but a handful of it. Growth is not money, it's holistic growth within yourself and for your business. See, when the OGs are talking, you listen. That's one of them stalking right now, right? And see, that's the truth. Now, if we don't learn and we don't understand this process, we're literally going to be shooting ourselves on the foot. So I'm going to leave this right now for Allegra to take it up because she's like breaking it down. But I want you to take note. Take note of all of those little pieces, the process, the time, the support, the energy, all of it. Okay, don't go thinking that you're going to start up a business today and in less than 6 months you're going to blow up. And before you know what's happening, you're bringing in billions. Think about it. Okay, Allegra?
Yeah. And I think it's a mindset because true is what Shara said is very true. Growth is not money. It's holistic. It's within yourself and in your business. And the truth is that over time you find that out because money is literally just a tool. And if you know, and nothing comes easy. Like as much as we like to think that and be very like let's be very transparent, what really great thing have you ever got in life that came easy or free? Usually you gotta pay for things, whether it's your time or your money. And what we're saying essentially is that Google spent their time, like the owners of Google, the two students in the beginning of their journey, they spent their time. And this means that they actually sacrifice sleep. They sacrifice probably time they want to go out with their friends. They sacrifice time that they wanted to watch TV, probably. Like these are the things that we're talking about as payment. And if we look at it in this way, where you're going to pay somehow, you know, having a business is not just like, you know, I'm just like buying something and it's a thing in my possession now. No, it's going to take you to actually have to do work every day in order to keep it and maintain it. And one of the things that I've noticed a lot of times, and especially around business owners that start really, really like they're like really ready to go when they get started, and they're like, yeah, and they may even have a lot of money. Like I've had business people that have started their businesses and they got like $10,000. I don't know, could have been from the pandemic, who knows, right? And they're like, yeah, I want to start my business. I'm excited because they have the money and they're like, I'm just going to buy the resource. But the truth is that you cannot just buy a business and not expect to still put the time into it. Even the best businesses with the with business owners that are, you know, they don't have to be hands-on. The best businesses that stay really good, that stay in that sense of understanding, is because they've established principles that even if the owner is not there, they're there, right? And we can see that in a lot of companies. Google is one of them because they have literally expanded and invested. But not to side note, but every time I go to Chick-fil-A, I feel the owner. I'm like, yeah, they keeping them in line. You don't have, like, every Chick-fil-A you go to, they give you the same feeling, the same vibe, right? So that's what it is when we actually duplicate ourselves in business. So if we don't take our time to build that business, to actually sit down and write that business plan and say, you know, this is actually what I want to do, and then figuring it out if that's actually what you want to do. I've literally written business plans for people and they look at it and they go, that's not what I was thinking. And I go, but that's what you said. That's what you want. And these are the things that it's going to take to get that. So if you're thinking that, you know, oh, well, I can just show up online and then something will magically appear, like Mel Robbins always talks about, right? No one is coming. No one is coming. So you have to actually show up for yourself every single day and make sure that if you're not doing the work, that you are delegating it out to someone else. And so that's what I saw when it came to Google and their IPOs, that they became they were outside of themselves. They weren't thinking about themselves. They were thinking, this is going to be big. Okay, we got to go ahead and make sure it's working. And so including a team in that, and then having the opportunity to expand, this is what it says. It says that they actually went and expanded in the areas of, and I'll tell you, and this is what we use today, Gmail. Where would we be without Gmail? Like, do y'all remember the old school AOL? Do y'all remember AOL? Do y'all remember Hotmail? Do y'all remember that? There was even like a mail.com at some point. Like, do you remember them things? I hardly even remember these things anymore. Gmail is at the forefront of my mind all the time. And every time I have an issue with another email, where do I go back to? Gmail. I'm like, no, just go ahead and send it to my Gmail. Don't worry. They ain't going to have any issues over there. So they've created.
let me make you laugh. You come back to this, right? So there's this client of mine. The first time she sends me a message, I'm like, okay, good. I have her name, all of that. And so I reached out to her. I'm like, what's your email again? And then she then gave me the email, and it was at yahoo.com, right? And I'm like, sorry, I think this was a mistake. Did you want to put at gmail.com? And she's like, no, TC, that's my email. And I'm like, what age is this again? And she's just started laughing. And she's like, oh my gosh, TC. And I'm like, no, remember, I think, who uses Yahoo? Like who uses Yahoo? And then she just started laughing. And she's like, yeah, people also ask her. But no, hold on. This is not to say Yahoo is not good. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, do people still use Yahoo?
Yeah, I have plenty of clients that still use Yahoo. I have clients that still use Hotmail. I actually, somebody remember I think it was like Bell South to AOL as something like that, and then it was like Comcast. That's what it is, Comcast.net. So I've had clients that they use all different accounts, because the truth is that we use what we have available to us. Sometimes we are working for certain jobs, and they'll give you an account to use and things like that. You have a phone company give you an account to use. But I think when we look at the shift of the mindset coming from just, like living our daily lives to operating a business that's for other people, it's a difference. Like you have to be very intentional about what you're doing, what you're using. So the Gmail is what I always recommend people to use outside of their business email. And this is why I say Google's at the forefront. I don't say go use your Yahoo. I never say that. I never say go use your Hotmail. I'm like, no, we're going back to Gmail. So they launched the Gmail app because that was one of their the things that they obviously saw that there was room for. So it wasn't just about search and beyond, right? Because if it just was a search engine, then we wouldn't have Gmail. We wouldn't have AdWords, right? Because we have a lot of businesses that use that to advertise. Like, think about that. Like, we don't even think about how that was all created and how it fits in the model. But a lot of people are using Google AdWords, and they're using it separate from all of Google's other features. I literally looked at this and I said, and I dissected it in a data format at one point in time. This was years ago. And this was when they were really starting to bring in all these different, like they were advertising it more like Google Suite. They weren't advertising it like, oh, Google this, Google that. They were like, no, this is Google Suite. So that's when I realized that there was more to Google and I've been using some of the apps, but literally I haven't been using them all. And here's one thing I do want to shout out, because one of the things, right? And let me see if I can show y'all this. I don't want to give all my Google stuff away, y'all. But one of the things that was so cool when Google launched that Google Suite, I think it was around a pandemic, because they were competing against like all these companies, like Zoom came out, all kind of stuff. And, Google used to have Google Duo or Hangouts, and then they switched over. Now it's like Google something else. but it's basically the comparison to Zoom. And a lot of people in the pandemic started using the Google Suites for all of their business needs, right? It was just like, it only made sense to utilize it and just make sure that it was available. So one of the things that I noticed after, kind of realizing this, let me see if I can get this right. So I want to show you guys the actual screen of all of the things that I was like, hold on, it's cutting out on me. Hold on, y'all. It's trying to cut off on me. My internet is trying to act funny. I wanted to pull up all of the actual products that I saw after looking at, what Google had in their suite. I was like, wait a minute, Google has that. And this is what was so funny. Okay, here it is. Let me see. Can y'all hear me still? Okay, perfect. So let me share this real quick, y'all. And we're talking about how Google expanded. So they expanded into like Gmail. And this is in 2004 when they did their IPO. So when they did their IPO in 2004, they not only did the AdWords, they did video content, YouTube. Did y'all know that YouTube was a part of Google? I don't know if y'all knew that. But you know, they saw that there was a real need for expanding portfolios of service. And so it restructured in 2015, forming Alphabet driving cars. I don't know if y'all ever seen the Google cars, but they have those on the roads, and they always like getting all the dynamics of like the mapping and everything like that. And then they also have DeepMind, which is artificial intelligence, and then of course Google's core services. So I thought it was so cool because a lot of these things we think, right? Because I've heard so many times my clients will be like, and they know I talk about them because listen, they'll be listening to, they'll listen to this and they'll be like, okay, Allegra, because the truth is the truth. And when you are so scared to expand because you're like, well, this is what I do and this is all I am, then you're basically self-sabotaging. You're not allowing yourself to actually see what the possibilities are. And I love the fact that these two students allowed themselves to do that. They allowed themselves to be outside of what they thought these limitations possibly could be. And if I share this screen with y'all and I'll show you that this part, let me see. This part I want to show you from the Google side. There it is. So you should be able to see this. And let me see if I can log into the other part so I can kind of see it too. But if you can't see this, TC, please let me know because I can't see the screen right now. But this is all of their suite. Like this is all their stuff. Look. Google products. Like they put their freaking products in the name. I love Google. Okay, so you can actually physically see their AirPods. You can see, you know, their icons. You know, these are like part of their brand. These are their icons, their logos. You have down here where this is all of Google stuff. Look, Android Auto, Android TV, calendar, Chromebook, cars with Google built in. These are all of the services and the apps that they have. And I've actually set up an entire business for someone using only Google Suite, Google Classroom for courses and lessons, Google Chat to update, you know, if somebody has to like, you know, quickly give you a quick chat or whatever, you don't have to give them your phone number. You just Google Chat. You know, you have Google Meets where you can do online screen recordings and trainings, and you can also have meetings there. You know, there's just so much here. And I'll stop this because some of the things that I think is so effective when you use it right is that a lot of times we think that buying something gives us better results. And what I found over time is that we end up buying the wrong things because we don't know really what we want yet. So that's hence to TC's point, right? All the gurus that are like $6,000 in 6 days. Well, clearly, you know, it's a little unrealistic, right? Like if you really do the math. So unless they have like this guarantee that they're telling you, hey, you pay me this and in 6 days you're guaranteed $6,000, I wouldn't even work with it because it scared me already. Every single thing that you're going to do is going to take work. You're going to have to be responsible for what you do. That means you got to stay disciplined and organized. And some of the things that I love about even, you know, when we see that if we pay for services first, because all those things that I showed you on Google are free. So if you pay for services first, what ends up happening is that you come back to myself and TC butthurt because some coach or some strategist or someone told you that they were going to make a miracle happen. And then we have to reframe that whole dynamic for you and help you change your paradigm and your mindset around business, and then show you how to do it to keep your overhead low first. That is the most intelligent thing to do in business. Why are you spending money before you are making it? So Google Suite has allowed us with this process and building their business has allowed us to create an entire business structure for free and to also improve our personal lives for free and so many other things. TC, I'll stop there. I want to pass it over back to you.
I love this. I love this because at the end of the day, right? Google has made it. No, Google has built itself as a no excuse zone for businesses, meaning you no longer have excuses. Some people be like, oh, but I need a website to start my business. Okay, Google can get you a free website. Oh, but I need money to start my business. No, because you can actually have a store, an e-store, just off Google and for free. You can sell just off Google for free. You can put your business online, get people to come to your business, get people to buy from you, get chat with you, get people to email you for free. Remind me again, what exactly is your excuse? Right? Now let's think about it. Now, this particular brand had to do the work to bring you the solution. My question for you today is, what work are you currently doing to ensure that the solution that you are bringing forth is reliable enough for it to stand the test of time? Because trust me, Google has been able to stand the test of time. Now, we are not talking about Google because, oh, maybe, obviously, I don't know if maybe Google paid Allegra, but Google didn't pay me. And I'm sure that if they paid Allegra, I'm sure Allegra will be like tipping me off with some of it. But the truth is, let's call a spade a spade. Let's talk about what is working. I mean, Google gets to set you up for success with or without you having money. My question is, what exactly are you waiting for? Now, let's go back to who they are as a brand. Listen, for them to have gotten this far, they didn't have to follow somebody who told them that marketing. Imagine somebody be like, tell you that just because you're marketing, you're going to blow up your business. Who says? Just because 100,000 of people, 1 million set of people are giving you their attention doesn't necessarily mean they would buy your product or your services. It's just the attention you have. That's marketing. Now it's now up to you. We had a room, myself and Allegra, yesterday, talking about the difference between marketing funnel and sales funnel. I mean, you need to go back and listen to that class, or you just DM us and get the class, because it was literally the breakdown. So many of us do not understand that you need to market. You need to get those eyeballs. You need to get the attention before the sales will start to come in. It's a process. Unless maybe you're looking for, you're just looking for that quick cash. Excuse me, but if you're looking for that quick cash, I don't think entrepreneurship is for you, because these men had to go through with education. They had to learn. They had to go through training, and you are not ready to be coached. You are not ready to learn. Excuse me, you are not ready to take those classes. Now, because you're not ready to take those classes, you're not ready to learn. How do you want to expand? Do you know where growth is? Growth is in learning. Growth is in making mistakes. Growth is in following through with process. Now, I'm sure that Google did not just wake up on money and, they're who they are right now. They had to go through challenges, which obviously Allegra is going to be talking about, right? Now, you want to picture yourself in this particular scenario. Look at the amazing solution they have right now. How have you benefited from this? If you're yet to benefit from it, you need to plug in, because you can for free. But that's not even what we're talking about. What we're talking about is, can you see what they had to go through? The years they had to wait before they were even able to go public, right? Now, it was a process they had to follow. My question for you, another question, I've asked a question earlier, so I'll ask another question. How ready are you to work with time on your business? How ready are you, okay, to follow process? Because whether we like it or not, we all keep giving excuses. I was in a space the other day, and I had, somebody be like, oh, I'm not able to do this because of this. I'm not able to do this because, listen, we all can wake up one morning and decide to give excuses. I can wake up maybe today and say, okay, you know what? This is my excuse. And trust me, you would agree with me. I'd be like, oh, yeah, that's true. TC, very valid. But for how long do we want to keep making excuses? If these men kept making excuses, Google as an amazing tool would have not been brought to Fusion as amazing as it is right now. Why? Because they made excuses. Do you know how many people you are depriving of your solution, depriving of your amazingness? All because every time you sit down, you're thinking about the next excuse to tell yourself. You're thinking about how you want to make 6 million in 60 minutes, right? And you literally have nothing. Have you ever had to think about how many people you're destroying their lives? How many people you're stopping from becoming successful, all because you have chosen to be the obstacle to your own success? I mean, think about it. That's all I'm saying. I'm not necessarily saying that is what it is, but I'm saying think about it. Because if Google, right, if the founders of Google had sat down, folded their hands, and kept giving excuses, if they didn't go through the training, if they didn't seek for help, if they didn't ask for support, if they didn't show up, if they didn't keep trying, if they didn't keep pushing, if they didn't stay consistent, if they didn't put their heads together to try to make this thing work, so many of us would have had this amazing tool to work with. I mean, I would have had Google My Business to, to brag about when it comes down to my client success. I would have had Google Chat, Google Meet, all of this, like the entire Google Workspace. We would have had it right now. Do you know that so many people's businesses rely solely on Google? Like if Google just drops down right now, so many people would cry their blood out. Like so many people will be in disarray. So many people will be like, oh my gosh, I don't have a life anymore. Do you know how many lives you are holding on ransom because you have chosen to give up, or because you didn't make money after the first 30 days you started your business? Do you know how many people's legacy you're stopping? Why? Because after 60 days or after 2 years, only 2 years, of trying to make it work in your business, it didn't happen. Now all you had to do was close up. Instead of you to seek help, instead of you to go for trainings, instead of you to learn the ropes, instead of you to stay steadfast, instead of you to choose the right community and the right people. Think about it. So while you're thinking about it, Allegra is going to be giving us, other aspect of Google that I'm sure you haven't actually thought about. I'm sure you didn't realize Google had all of these tools, right? Now you want to go back. Allegra, I know you have more things for us. Over to you.
Just making sure you can hear me still good. All right. So yeah, I did one of TC's moves, and I used one device for camera, one device for voice. I think this is really cool, TC. You got me on something. I was feeling everything you said because it reminded me of, and we're talking about Google and their humble beginnings, and now we're using a lot of their services, but it reminds me of my humble beginnings too, because when I started out, I didn't have all these. In 2007, I started my first business and I did not have any of this. And I think sometimes we take for granted what we don't know. And that's why I think it's so important for us to have the conversation, because I didn't know what I didn't know back then. And so there were, mentors and supporters and people I had to be guided by to show me these things. And once I got the aha moment, like I remember my first consultant, I was working with a consultant and I was also working with a mentor at the same time. And I was getting the same information. I was paying one person and not paying the other because mentors usually don't charge. And I was like, wait, like there's free stuff out here like that I'm paying for? Like it's just weird, right? So I had to really learn that a lot of the things that I was doing was based off of what I thought I knew. Like if I'm going to get the value, that means I got to pay for it. But the truth is that I realized over time that I had to pay with whatever I had. So if I didn't have money, I'm probably going to have to volunteer my time, right? That means that I have to volunteer my time to learn about whatever it is. There's nothing that is not available to us. And that's the crazy part, because Google, just by them doing what they did in their business, they made so much information available to us that we're now in an overwhelm. Like our world is in an overwhelm. So much so that people will have a million and one excuses with the answer right in front of them, because it's just so much to deal with, so much to think about. And so I think like for a lot of it, it's really like focusing and really getting down to what it is that you want to do. And I think like with this suite and with all the things that Google came out in the pandemic, if you weren't following that, like I literally walked each of my clients through these processes. This is not something that they just was like, oh, okay, Google came out with new products, I'm going to go use it. No, they had no clue, right? Just like you're looking at this and you may not have a clue that everything that you've been paying for the last 5 years was already available to you and you didn't have to pay a dime. Now, the truth about it is a level of convenience. So that's what people pay for. They pay for convenience. Some people pay for luxury, right? Because they just like to look a certain way and be a certain way, right? There's different things that people are willing to make an exchange for. But that is, money is just a component, it's a tool that you're using. So is time. And so I love how you broke it down, TC, because they dedicated their time into building their business for Google in the beginning stages by really figuring out what was working for them and then applied it to, the world, told other people about it and said, hey, listen, we have other things we can give you. And so now we are all automatically using these things. So to all your benefit, if you feel like you're a little lost in this, right? Because Google didn't even do it alone. We always tell you, because we constantly work with individuals that are like, I've just been doing this for 5 years and I'm just tired. I've been working my business for 10 years. I haven't gotten anywhere. I'm tired. And we understand, like, it's a lot to deal with, because I remember being in a place where I was just like, I give up. I'm not doing it no more, because there are always different seasons of change. So what we're learning from Google is that they started off with the mentality that they couldn't do it alone. Like, they started off with the mentality that this is something that probably is going to be bigger than us anyway. So being flexible with that journey, I think, is so important. And so TC, I'll stop here and then I'll go to the details again for Google. But what you said earlier about, entrepreneurship is not for everyone, I want to emphasize that. Emphasize, right? With 2 exclamation points. Because it's true. And I think we've gotten into a world where we think that entrepreneurship may be the only way because we have some skills and some abilities that we really want to make money from. But the truth is that money is something that you can get in a lot of different ways. It is not about the money. It's about the freedom of fulfillment, right? Like, is what you're doing fulfilling you? The money is a bonus. It's like, oh, I get paid to do this? Like, what? But if it's fulfilling you, then you wake up in the morning with such a purpose and such a drive that you literally can't stop it yourself. There should be no one that can get in your way of you operating and building your business and being an entrepreneur. Even you should not be the one getting in your own way, but that's what's happening. So we learn from these processes and say, well, what kind of mindset did they have? The 2 owners of Google, as students at Stanford University, were clearly already on a path of success in their mind, right? So we got to start there first. And that's why I always say, before you even write the business plan, what is your why? Like, why are you even doing this? Why are we even talking right now? Did someone tell you to call me, or there's got to be a reason why you're really putting all this effort into it, because business is not something that just starts and stops for everyone. Sometimes they use it as an investment, but most of the time, the clients that I work with are passionate women entrepreneurs who are creating a legacy, not for them, just for themselves, but for their families. So this is not just a thing where you just are going to start a business and stop it. You really want to invest your time wisely. And so this is what I'm really focusing on. It's like, how are we utilizing even those apps on Google that they really put in front of us to mimic the same big brand attitude that they had from the beginning, to say, listen, I don't have to spend $1,000 to show that I want to own a business or that I want to start. That's not where it comes from. The effort comes from, what are you willing to give, period. If you don't have the money, are you willing to stop and take time to work on the business? Are you willing to sacrifice the time that you would normally be doing other things, like sleeping in or, watching TV, like I said earlier, not the essential things. Like, you want to take care of your family. You want to take care of yourself. So there are some things that I've called guilty pleasures that you can have. Like, every now and then, every day, I literally take a guilt bath. Like, I just go and I soak and I'm like, oh, feels so guilty. It feels so good. But that's time that I'm taking out of my day so that I can reset and I get my mind together so I can think better. We don't do good in overwhelm or busyness. And so we have to identify, like, where do we place our time? Because your time, when they say time is money, that's what they mean. You're either going to spend the money or you're going to spend the time. So think about, how are you spending that time, like TC said. And I will definitely say that we're going to end this off by just kind of telling you that, Google really had its own challenges, y'all. Like, I talked about this because I think that, we have to be very realistic that this is not outside of us. Your business and what you have inside of you, your dreams, your desires are placed there for a reason, and you have everything you need. It's just that sometimes we don't feel like it, right? We don't feel like we have it together. Like TC earlier before we got on, TC was like, I said, "What's wrong, TC?" I said, "Where's my TC at? Where's my TC?" And she was like, "Ugh." Oh, like, girl, I just got a lot going on. I just got a lot I'm thinking about. And sometimes even the overwhelm of thinking about what you have to do is too much. So you got to take time. And that's why we do business planning and, re-strategizing sessions and getting you into the place of, like, you don't have to be the one to always figure everything out and do everything and spend all the money. You have to really assess what it is you actually need for this process. And when you decide that, right, then you start to feel better when you get those challenges. And some of the challenges that Google had was privacy. That was big. Like, if you look at the privacy concerns, Google encountered challenges over the years. So it wasn't, even though they were globally successful, how do you feel making $1 million and then also losing it at the same time? Like, how do you feel about that, right? Just because you made the money doesn't come with it without its challenges. So they had a lot of regulatory scrutiny, and this is something that, because they were taking information and compiling it together for us, so we don't have to look everywhere all over the internet to find out one little thing, right? Now we look at that, it became more integral with daily life. Like, it's interesting because as it did that, people like users, like people who could have done it, right? People who, and this is how I feel like a lot of scrutiny that comes to our businesses are from people who probably shoulda, coulda, woulda. I don't know about you, TC, but any time I've had an issue, I remember my AV installation company that I had, I opened and closed it, made 6 figures with that business. I was good. I didn't need it. I didn't really want it like that. It was something I ran with my ex, and I was like, okay, got what I needed, gone. But I remember in that business while we were running it, listen, there was people in other businesses that were our competitors that were so mad that we were taking business in areas that they wanted to be in, that they were looking for all kind of ways to get us out the picture. Like, reporting us to different places. Like, we don't think they're licensed and we don't think they're this. And so whenever we got a report, and that's compliance, and that's why we say, take your business seriously. It's not for everyone, because people will try and scrutinize, and they did that to Google. But just like we had to do, you're going to have to show that you have your stuff together. You're going to have to show, no, I have the license. No, I have the insurance. No, I have my documents in order. And that's why we work with individuals in a program standard, because TC, like, as well as I know, that we will start and stop something because we just don't know what we're doing. And you don't want to start operating that business and then get caught up in the compliance of it all. And so that's why I feel like the challenges that we're all going through in business and business ownership and entrepreneurship is so similar to every big brand. It's no different. The only thing that we deem as different is that we're going through it. Right? Like, we've never done it before. So for a lot of, like, my employees going to employers, getting into a CEO mindset is difficult, because you have to literally shift your entire mindset every time you have a challenge. Because honestly, the easy part is to say, I ain't doing that. That's crazy. I don't want to go through that. Right? Because the challenges that you have to deal with, they were scrutinized by the freaking government. Like, this wasn't like some person in the back of their computer like, oh, I don't like your business. No, this was the government coming after them. So a lot of people, in the process of developing and building their business, because they're really not betting enough on what that vision and that dream is, and they don't understand it enough, right? And some of it is because you're not planning in, and some of it is because you're not asking yourself why enough. And sometimes you don't understand how you identify with that dream and that vision. But when you get into a place of discovering that through the processes that TC and I always tell you to do, write down your ideas, brainstorm them, write the plan out, make it plain, right? And then figure out that step-by-step process that's going to get you there, right? Set those goals, because the truth is that if you don't, you're just not going to do it. You're just going to keep saying, okay, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. And so this gives you a very clear view of where you're going in your business. So when you get to this point of those challenges that they had, because they had some real big challenges, y'all. I didn't even get to it. Like really big. And probably because their vision was so big. So that's another part now. And with that is that your vision may be just as big or bigger, right? Google was in a place of its own in the beginning of that industry. You may be beginning a whole new industry yourself. You may be in a place where you're the only one in this position and no one else is doing what you're doing, and you feel crazy and you're like, what? Like, this is stupid. Like, nobody's doing this. It's not going to make money, whatever the case may be. But you really do have to trust yourself to know that what you feel inside is true. You have to trust yourself that that thing that's happening is really meant for you, because the truth really is also that people will always tell you how uncomfortable it makes them feel that your dreams are too big. It will always tell you that. So you have to remind yourself that my dreams are for me, but they're also for me because I need to build it so I can't get distracted. But once I build it, then they will see it. So that's what I would want to leave y'all with, a little bit of encouragement to just say, there may be some struggles because we are in Q4. And this is one of those seasons where a lot of my clients are like, oh my God, right? But that's why I created business development and branding overhauls, because there are times where, when you build your business, you may have the floor level of getting all of your Google suite together. And maybe you don't want to spend money on your business yet until you make the money. But once you make that money and you get into a challenge, and now you can hire someone to do the work for you. So I'll stop there. TC, I would love to hear, your take on it. And then we'll start, closing this down.
It's not always easy. It's not always as simple as it wants to look. But there are tools, there are readily available support, there are readily available help that would guide you through doing what you need to do so that you're able to make that next level um, success. Right now, growth is important. Growth, gets you confidence. It gets you staying intentional with your passion, with what you're doing, your business, and all of it. Now, for every single growth that you experience in your business, that is a super reason for you to keep celebrating. It's an important reason for you to keep going. Now, for you to be able to activate that in your business, unless it is your zone of genius, right? It is okay to ask for help. All right. Unless it is in your zone of genius. Listen, as much as we keep talking about how amazing Google is, I would also tell you that Google has greatly misled so many people. Yes, it has misled so many people in thinking that all because they can get a bunch of information on Google, they can run the world, they can rule the world. They will just come up one day and be like, boom. But you see, you need guidance around those information, because information is of no use to you if you cannot implement it. If you do not know the direction in which this information needs to stay, if you're not able to position the information to work for you, any information that is not working for you is of no use to you. Right now, the more information I see so many of us nibble on, consume, the more content we consume, the more information we consume without guidance, without implementation. Because when you implement, you're able to know, okay, you know what, it works, it didn't work. When you have guidance, you're able to know, okay, you know what, okay, let me don't waste my time on this, let me do this. So many people have gotten frustrated because of too much information. Like, it's so much they think they know, but they keep making mistakes because they think they know. Focus on your zone of genius. There's a reason why that particular phrase is available. All right? You want to focus on your God given skill, talent, and ask for help about every other thing. Because you see, if you are called for this ministry, listen, I've been able to understand that entrepreneurship is a ministry. Now, if you're called for this particular type of ministry, I promise you, that is going to test you. It's going to test your patience. It's going to test every single thing that you have in you. The question is, how ready are you? What structure do you have in place? What shock absorbers do you have? Because those shocks been like running in, right? So you want to have all of these things so that when it hits you, you are ready, because it will definitely hit you. Okay? If it has not if you've not felt it yet, you've not started. You need to feel it. Now when you feel it, or when it hits you, how ready are you? What structure do you have in place? What do you have in place in your life, in your business, that will prepare you for all of these things? Because the more shocks you have, the more you grow. Like, you need to take that step. You need to move. You need to keep growing, right? I've had my own fair share. Allegra's had our own fair share. We'll keep having our shares as we grow, as we keep moving, because we are moving. And the more you move in the right direction, the more you're tested. The question is not the fact that you will not be tested. The question is, when the tests come, how ready are you to tell it, hey, you come here, I'm ready for you. Well, I understand, but I've got you. Now, the question is, how ready are you for those challenges, for those difficulties, for those tests, even from yourself? And that's where we're coming. Okay? You have questions, show up in the comments, hit us up in the DMs. We have the Win Consulting program coming up, and you want to be a part of it. You want to first get clarity as to why you need to be in spaces like this. Okay? And we can give you all of the answers that you need. I love Google, but you see, when it comes down to information, sometimes I'm like, you know what, stay open-minded when you nibble on all of those contents. Stay guided, and that's where we're coming. All right. And so take advantage of spaces like this. We're going to be here next week as well, Thursday, same time. So take advantage of these spaces. And if you have questions about your business, about the growth of your business, about the structure of your business, about the plans for your business, the strategy for your business, listen, don't wait till 2025 before you start a plan. We already have the plan for 2025 ready. So you should have done that like yesterday. Okay? Do not wait for 2025 and say, oh, I'm still working on Black Friday. Listen, Black Friday is going to come and go. 2025 is staring at you. So you need to have a plan, a strategy that will take you once 2024 is like smiling at you. Okay? So that's where I'm going to leave us off from. As always, my name is TC, and I want you to come back here next week. Let us talk about another big brand that small businesses like ours can learn from. Over to you, Allegra.
That was bomb, TC. I'm over here. Wait, we have to jump in another meeting, y'all. But listen, we're gonna get out of here. I would leave you with the fact that everything that we said on here is just based off of our own experiences. Like, we literally can only tell you from what we've learned through our journey, what we've seen through our clients, and also what we've researched and looked at throughout this process. And I'm telling you, there's so much more to this. And so I would tell you to do your own research as well. Look into the back of these brands. But also, for those of you who are just really like, hey, listen, like, I'm either really stuck here and I don't really know what to do with my business. I'm not growing well, but I'm working hard. That's one area that I support my clients in very heavily, because I was one of those type of people. I was working real hard, but when nothing moving. And then also, there's a way where you can really simplify some of your processes. So if you're in the beginning stages of your business and you're just like a little confused about the direction you're taking, right? That's what coaching is for. Is really to get you to clarify in your own mind what direction you want to go into. And I think some of the ill wheels that's happening is that people are just telling other people what to do rather than allowing them to figure it out for themselves. So we'll be, coming with some more information. I want you guys to ask your questions, because you don't have to pay us to play with us. You can actually ask your questions in the DMs. You can ask your questions in the comments. We can come back the next week with the actual information for your question. Don't be shy, because people are already paying us thousands of dollars just to give them the answer to questions that you already have. And so I want to make sure that you get the opportunity to get in our spaces while we are live to do this, because we're not always live all the time. And I guarantee you 2025 is going to be completely different for us. So get us while you can. Take care. We will see y'all next week. Have an amazing one.